It is Thursday morning. It's time for Wager Talk on the clock. I'm Adam Trigger from WagerTalk.com, and this is a free pick sports betting show. It's baseball season, so right now we are focused on baseball, and I'm going to talk Major League Baseball, a bet I'm looking at later, give another free sort of opinion on a Major League Baseball game, and then we will look at some weekend KBO at the end. I've got a couple of things I'm looking for this weekend that could lead to plays, and we will talk about them here. Very nice night for me last night. Bounced back from a bad day on Thursday. Went 3-1. Hit my 5% Major League Baseball max bet on the Orioles. So I showed up in some orange for you guys today. Fourth straight max bet winner. And I added another one with the Diamondbacks. So MLB, nice bounce back there. And we're grinding away in baseball season right now at Wager Talk. The special, I believe, is all access, which gets you all of my baseball, KBO, any of the AAA that I play, Major League Baseball, for the next 21 days. So that's the special that we are running on the site, and I do have a 4% play this afternoon. But we're going to get right into it. 3 minutes on the clock for a Major League Baseball game that I probably the only other thing I'll actually consider playing in MLB today, which goes a little bit later tonight. So I did lock a 4%er in one of the afternoon games, but tonight I'm going to look at Nationals Phillies. This is, I really want to play the Nationals here, and I really want to play them plus 1.5. So I'm going to make the case for the Nats, and I will have my eye on the number on this game throughout the rest of the day, because I was hoping to get like Nats plus 1.5, minus 120 was probably ambitious, maybe minus 125. It looks like it's starting to creep down into that minus 125, minus 130 range right now. Which is certainly playable, but I guess I don't feel that there really the need to, push this out just yet. It looks like Philadelphia is going to take money, and so I will probably wait and kind of decide to add this as the day goes on. Reason I like the Nationals here, I'm getting to go against Taijuan Walker. I've talked about this, before. I think he is definitely the weak link in this rotation. He's a guy that we made money playing against last year, and he's pitched just well enough to sort of justify still being in the rotation. Fastball's been okay, but, if you go to his Savant page, pitching run value trending toward poor. He's not really getting guys to chase, doesn't have great swing and miss stuff, and I just feel like he's on the cusp of sort of getting blown up. His last start pulled after 3 innings. The Cubs were like, right, a big hit away from really blowing it open against him, and then they took him out. 6 hits, 2 walks, only 2 earned runs, but they got him out early after 3 innings. And again, I just think if he goes, 5 or 6, which is the expectation here, that the Nationals are going to be able to score some runs against him. Now, on the other side, you've got Brad Lord, who's interesting, and I've talked about him quite a bit this year. He's someone I do like. I like him better as a middle reliever, a long reliever. That's basically what he is. And the Nationals are sort of using him as a starter because they don't really have a better option right now. But they're using him as a starter, but they're only letting him go 3 or 4 innings. So they're basically using him as like an extended opener, if you will. And I think it's a good role for him. They let him go 3 or 4 innings. He's been solid. I think he's got good stuff. Like, I think if he was coming in to games in like the 4th and pitching to like the 7th, we'd all be sitting here saying, wow, like Brad Lord's a very solid middle reliever. And so, like, I guess my whole argument is why can't he be solid at the beginning of the game? He doesn't get the same respect as a starter, but that shows up in the numbers. So the key with Lord is going to be who is going to follow him. And you really want Brad Lord out there on the day where the bullpen is rested, and you're getting that today. So they've been leaning into the pairing of Lord and Jackson Rutledge. They seem to like to use Rutledge behind Lord in a lot of these starts. Rutledge has been pretty good, 4 consecutive scoreless outings. And I'm pausing this buzzer because I'm going to go a little long on this one. This might actually be a play for me. 4 consecutive scoreless outings for Rutledge, and then you're probably looking at Jorge Lopez, and then if the game is on the line, Kyle Finnegan, both of which did not pitch yesterday. So that is arguably better than what the Phillies are going to stack here with Taijuan Walker. And then as far as the Nationals are concerned, there's a lot of upside in this lineup. CJ Abrams is back. That gives them the boost. James Wood is a superstar. He's probably an all-star this year, and this is kind of a dream matchup for him, a right-handed pitcher that's not really going to blow him away. And then you got guys like Dylan Cruz. He's starting to come around. He's got his average up over that 200 threshold. Finally comes in hitting 212, but it's much better than where he was at the beginning of the month, hitting like 100. And I mean, how long is Josh Bell going to go hitting 137? Like he's probably going to have a breakout at some point. So again, this is just a pitcher that I think, Nathaniel Lowe's been really good against right-handed pitching. So this is someone that I think the Nats might be able, some of these guys that haven't hit as well for the Nationals might be able to break out against. And I really do like the thought of going Lord to Rutledge to the better relievers here. I think that's kind of an equalizer, and I would take the 1.5 there. So I will be looking at, of course, I paused the buzz. So that was way longer than 3 minutes, but we'll make up time on the back end here. I wanted to go a little bit longer there because that is something I'm strongly considering, kind of making a best bet. And so I wanted to give you a thorough breakdown. But I really like the Nationals in this spot. It's going to be about me getting there with the price. But you know what? Right now in that 125 to 130 range on plus 1.5 for the Nats, that is that's looking good enough. And I think, depending on how this afternoon goes, I may have to add that. So let's go to another Major League Baseball game that I'm not going to play, but I still want to talk about. I'm going to shout out my co-host, one of my co-hosts on Total Bases. If you don't know what Total Bases is, that is a live 1-hour Major League Baseball betting show that we've been doing 3 times a week: Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. and on demand on the WagerTalk YouTube channel with Tokyo Brandon and Brian Leonard. We've gotten great feedback from it. The show runs entirely off of your chat questions. So we don't come with anything to talk about. We come just ready to talk Major League Baseball, and we just go through the chat for an hour and hit whatever games you want to talk about, provide whatever insight you guys are looking for. And it's gotten good reviews so far. So we're going to continue to do that 3 times a week. Reason I bring up Tokyo Brandon, he makes a very simple point. That's a very good point in my opinion. And he, kind of something he always says is, it's not blackjack. You're not forced to play your hand. You don't have to bet every one of these games. And I've heard him say that before. And I'm always like, yeah, of course. No kidding. Like that's kind of goes without saying. But where I've sort of started to, kind of go back and look at what's kind of chipped away at my ROI in baseball the last couple seasons, and last year I ended up with a decent season. And I think it would have been a lot better if I would leave games like this alone. And I'll explain why. So there's 2 theories here. Like yesterday, we talked about Brewers White Sox on the show. The Brewers was a minus EV bet. Okay. Like long-term betting the money line, betting Brewers money line or betting spots like the Brewers is probably going to lose you money. And today it's a minus EV bet as well, but it doesn't mean it's not going to win. And I think when it comes to some of these really like historically bad teams, like the Rockies and the White Sox, like you have to acknowledge, or someone like me has to acknowledge, that there is going to be line value and there's going to be spread value on that plus 1.5 on these teams almost every day. And you're probably like some of these teams are so historically bad right now. The Rockies, the White Sox. I might even throw the Angels in there going forward because they somehow had a hot start, that it's almost like you can't just say, okay, well, the White Sox are showing a lot of value today. The Rockies are showing a lot of value today and constantly bet those teams because you're probably going to lose money. And I think the point I'm going to make in this segment before we go over to KBO is maybe this is a bad spot to bet the Brewers. Like maybe if you take one thing from this, it's don't bet the Brewers. Chad Patrick's solid. I think he's going to be a solid pro for a long time. He's got, he's a kind of a bulldog. I've watched him pitch a bunch at AAA. He locates the fastball well. He seems to really know how to pitch. He battles through adversity, and it seems like he gets out 5-6 innings with a pretty quality start. Problem is, I don't think his stuff is going to really dominate at the big league level. So I would say like this is a good opportunity for the White Sox to maybe score some runs, maybe get to an opposing pitcher. Now, on the other hand, you got Sean Burke for the White Sox. He's 6'6". He's got a great outlook, in my opinion. He just doesn't know how to pitch yet. His issue this year, he's either struggled with command where he starts throwing balls and walking people, or he's too perfect, stuffs out over the plate, and he gives up hits. When he's kind of found the happy medium, he's been pretty good. And so I look at this and say, okay, definite value on the White Sox here. White Sox plus 1.5 is super tempting. Burke has a higher ceiling than Patrick. And the final thing I'll point out here is it's been a long road trip for the Brewers. They went to San Francisco, St. Louis. Now they're hitting Chicago, and this is their last day of their road trip. They get to finally go home after today. It does profile as a good spot for the White Sox. In past years, this very well might have been a play for me. And there's no question the value's on the White Sox. So for the sake of giving out a lean here, it's got to be White Sox plus 1.5. If you take one thing from that, maybe today is not the day to bet on the Brewers. Maybe it's White Sox or pass. And hey, if you like the White Sox here more than I do, go for it. But this one is not going to make my client card. So let's head over to KBO. We don't have, at the time I'm filming this, we do not have lines up yet for KBO. So what I decided to do was just sort of rapid fire a couple of things I'm looking at in the weekend series. So I'm not even going to set the clock here. I am going to try to get this done in 3 minutes or less. So we hold this to a 15-minute show is what I've been trying to do. And so we'll call this the KBO Weekly Preview. We have a new slate of series set to kick off on Friday morning. First one we'll talk about, Kia Hanwha. Very interesting series here because the Hanwha Eagles, have suddenly become the hottest team in the league. I think they've won like 9 of their last 11. I know they're 8-2 in their last 10, something I can see quickly here. They've won 4 straight, and they are now pressing the LG Twins for the top spot in the league, just a game and a half behind LG for first place. I don't know when the last time Han was in first place. You might have to go back like a decade for that. Maybe it's been a long time. Well, other than I know they were in first for like a minute. I think 2 seasons ago they had a really hot start. Point is, it's May. Han was in first place. They look like the real deal this year, but they're up against a team in the Kia Tigers that's starting to get healthy. Do-Young Kim came back last weekend. He was the 2024 MVP of this league, and I still think he's the best player in the KBO right now. Best position player in the KBO, in my opinion, without a question, Do-Young Kim from Kia. He is back. Patrick Wisdom missed some time last week. He's now back. And they split their series with NC earlier this week, 1-1. They had the rain out yesterday. And, this is a home series for Kia. So what's going to be really interesting here is to see how much the books respect Hanwha on the road now that they're starting to win games and now that they've won a bunch of games. Because this is a series where I'd like to look at Kia Tigers being a play. You're going to have Adam Oller on the mound on Friday. You're going to get another chance this weekend with James Nail. So for me, it's really going to be about where the books price this, because I still have Kia at full strength, power rated higher than Hanwha. And I'm just interested to see how much credit they give a guy like, for example, Friday starter Sang-Baek up against Oller. Are they going to price that as those two teams are similar? If they do, and Kia is cheap enough, I'm definitely going to take a shot with Kia there, and that would hold true for the whole weekend. So that's something I'm looking at in that series. As far as the current leaders, LG, they had like a huge lead in this, right out of the gate. That's dwindled now because they had a awful week. So LG is almost the opposite, where they've now lost 4 straight. They've lost 7 of 10. They haven't hit. Alicia Hernandez is on the IL, so they're down one. They're down arguably their best starter, one of their import pitchers. I think yesterday was a key rain out for LG. They were facing a sweep at the hands of Hanwha. They lost the first 2 games. One of them they lost late. The bullpen had logged a bunch of innings. I think yesterday was a very key rain out for the LG Twins. And again, I'll be interested to see how the books treat them, because tomorrow, Friday morning, they're going to be up against Drew Anderson, who has been just abusing some of the lesser teams in this league. That's, Andrew Anderson, Drew Anderson, whatever you want to call him, former Toledo Mudhen, for those of you that follow minor league baseball. That's where he was before he came to the league. Against Kaiwoom last time out, 14 strikeouts. He had a start at Samsung earlier this year, 13 Ks. He has dominated teams, in this league at times. But there's other times where he's a little bit mortal. Like, for example, LG just saw him. He went 6 2/3, but he still gave up 3 runs. So the way I look at this here, LG finally has a rested bullpen. They've got a starting pitcher in Ju-Young San, who's pretty solid. I'm really curious to see what the odds makers do here and how much respect they're going to give Drew Anderson, because outside of Anderson, SSG doesn't really hit. They use some bullpen. The last couple days they've been in really tight games with Samsung. They've had to use a bunch of bullpen arms. So I think they're kind of in a vulnerable spot. The only thing they have going for them in this game on Friday is Anderson. Now, if he comes out and locks them down and throws 7 shutout innings, then yeah, SSG could win this game. But I just feel like he has very little room for error in this one. They don't have much of a rested bullpen, whereas LG is fully rested. And I think Ju-Young San can go toe-to-toe with Anderson. So depending on what kind of money line we're getting here, you have to look at the LG Twins. But this game is at Jam, so it's a home game for LG. So again, it's really going to be interesting to see how much respect they get from the books on this little losing streak, because if you can get a cheap price with LG on Friday morning, that's definitely worth a look. The one other spot I'm really interested in this weekend is Zach Logie. So Zach Logie came from the Logie. I always forget how to pronounce his name. Came from the Atlanta Braves organization over to Korea this past year. He was someone that I was high on coming into the season. Had some issues with his command. They use slightly different ball out here. Like, all the mounds are different. This is something that the foreign players have complained about before. I think it's getting better, more uniform. But sometimes it takes some of these guys a month when they're coming over, getting acclimated to Korea. There's all sort of different things. And I felt like Logie wasn't at his best his first few starts. That changed last time out. I thought he was fantastic in his most recent start. His command was excellent. 10 strikeouts. Believe he just had 1 walk, 7 innings, 2 runs. Still gave up 7 hits, but he scattered them. 10 strikeouts, 1 walk. I really think that this is going to be the spot where you could get a good price on him. They're on the road at Samsung. And the one thing that I noticed that Logie, even though he has given up some hits, he is yet to be taken deep. He has not given up a home run yet. And if you can avoid giving up the long ball against Samsung, they sort of thrive off of that. And especially in that ballpark, Daegu is one of the smaller ballparks. So keeping the ball in the ballpark is massive when you're playing at Samsung. And I think Logie's going to be able to build on that and have another good start here. Since Doosan's on the road, you might get a really nice price on the Doosan Bears, depending on who the other starter is. But that's a spot I have circled this weekend. I still think Doosan is better than their 12-18 record. 12-18-1. They were without their import slugger, Jake Cave, for like 10 days. I think Doosan's going to trend up. I'll be looking for spots to play them this weekend. And the one I really have circled, I believe, might be Friday. So I believe it may be tomorrow's game. I'm trying to get probables. Yeah, I believe it's Logue versus Ariel Jurado. So even if the number doesn't make sense there, because of course Jurado is Samsung's one of their top starting pitchers, maybe an under Doosan Samsung in that spot. I think Logie pitches well here, and so do what you will with that. As always, managed to go over 15 minutes, but a lot of good info there. Touched on 3 different KBO series, talked about 2 Major League Baseball picks. Nationals plus 1.5 may very well make my client card, and if it does, I'll let you guys know. And if you're looking for the other client play, it goes early, 4% MLB best bet that goes this afternoon. Thanks for watching, as always, and we'll see you guys this weekend for another episode of On the Clock. Make sure you're joining us tomorrow morning, Friday, 9 a.m. Total Bases. I'll be back with Brian Leonard and Tokyo Brand, and we'll see you guys then.